Hi, I'm Nikki from Teaching Autism and welcome to the Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Are you an autism or special education professional? Are you a teacher or therapist looking for support and new ideas? You may even be a parent, family member or carer. This podcast is perfect to help you find out more information, support and get some of your questions answered. Hi everyone and welcome back to another episode on my Teaching Autism and Special Education Community Podcast. Today I'm talking about one of my favourite topics, and that's about taking our students out on trips into the community. I'm going to be sharing some of my best tips for how you can have a successful and less stressful field trip with your students, especially if you don't go on field trips regularly or you're worried about how your students will behave or about staffing. My first tip, and the most important tip of all, is to ensure that you have access to every student's family member details or emergency contact details. You never know what can happen, and you don't want to be without these in an emergency. My biggest recommendation for this is to put together a contact information book for your students in your class. Make it small so it's easy to transport and carry around on your trips, and all you need is one page per student. On each page, I include the student's initials at the top. I avoid using full names or photographs just for data protection. The student's date of birth, any allergies that they have, any medication they take, the student's doctor's details, who they are and what their contact details are, and 3 to 4 emergency contact details. If something were to happen, you are going to want to have access to as many emergency contacts as possible, especially in case the first 2 or 3 don't answer. Tip number 2 is visuals. If you follow me on social media, you're probably fed up of how often I go on and on about visuals. But honestly, they are so important for our students, and being out of the classroom, in the community, on a field trip, this is one of the most important times you should have access to visuals to use to communicate. For this, I always take a generic communication book to use for where we are going. So if we are going to a specific restaurant, I'll ensure that I have the appropriate symbols to suit that menu. This allows my students to communicate effectively what they want. I also encourage my staff members to wear a visual communication keyring. This has a range of different symbols that they can have instant access to, and it works great for communication as well as behaviour management strategies. And you can find links to all of these in the show notes. My third tip is to always have a backup plan in advance. I cannot stress enough how important it is for you to have a backup plan for every field trip that you go on. Why? Because there's so many things that can affect your original plan. What if the weather changes? Will the weather affect your original plan? Will it affect your backup plan? What about the time of day? Will it be busy? Will there be a lot of traffic? Is it easy to get back to school afterwards? Where is the backup plan? Is it far from your original plan? Is it an area that's suitable for your students? Is it safe to go? What about escape routes? It's important that you have a backup plan in mind before you need it. Otherwise, you have to try and find something that fits all of those safety questions on the spot. And that's when you're going to get stressed and anxious. Tip number 4 is about staffing. And it's important to prepare this in advance. How many staff will you have on the day compared to students? What's the ratio? Do any of your students need one-to-one staffing? I like to put together a simple table with staff and students and print it out so that everyone knows who they're in charge of that day. It will also help your trip to run more smoothly. My 5th tip is about taking a visit to the venue before your planned trip with your students. Can you speak to members of staff there to let them know about your upcoming visit? Is there anything they can do to help make your visit easier and more successful? It also gives you some knowledge of the venue, which can help you with your planning as well. My next tip is about preparation. You won't believe how many things are on YouTube now, and I love to show my students video clips of places we're going to go to help prepare them. This can help my students to visually see where they're going, what to expect and what they can do there. This also gives my staff members some extra knowledge of what to expect too. My final tip is to pre-book anything and everything that you can, especially if your students' first time visiting restaurants. Pre-book the meals so that your students don't have to wait as long for food to cook. This is great for helping to build your students' tolerance for waiting as well. That's all for today's episode. I hope you found these tips helpful, and if you have any tips of your own that you found work really well for your students for trips, please consider sharing them with us by heading over to our show notes and leaving a comment. In the show notes, you'll also find access to different resources to help you that I mentioned throughout this episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again soon.